Breonna Taylor's life did not end because she was a thug. Breonna Taylor's life was not ended because she resisted arrest. Breonna Taylor's life did not end just because of the typical assumptions that many Americans have why so many black people die at the hands when police are involved. We are not here just because of another cop murdering a black person and yet not being held accountable again and again and again. But I'd like to argue that Breonna Taylor's death was because of a deeper racist systematic problem, the war on drugs and poverty. Breonna Taylor's death was yet again another casualty of this war on drugs and poverty. She died because of the thought that there may have been drugs in her home. Today, researchers and policymakers alike agree that the war on drugs is a failure. In fact, incarcerating people for drug-related offenses has been shown to have little impact on substance misuse rates. Some of y'all don't know, but in my bachelor's degree, I am a substance abuse treatment worker. But instead, incarceration is linked to mortality from overdose. So knowing so, why do these policies even exist? I read an article that said drug law enforcement has led to mass incarceration, arbitrary arrests, detention, and devastating police brutality, the burden of which has fallen disproportionately on people of color. The war on drugs has built on racism, and it's time to decolonize these drug policies. Let me give you a few statistics before I move on. In a federal system, the average black defendant convicted of a drug offense will serve nearly the same time as a white defendant would for a violent crime. Every 25 seconds, yes, every 25 seconds, that means I've been up here for about 3 minutes, imagine, someone is arrested for a drug charge. 1/5 of the entire incarcerated population is serving time for a drug charge. Another 1.15 million people are on probation or parole for drug-related offenses. Since 1971, the war on drugs has cost the United States an estimated of $1 trillion. In 2015, the federal government spent an estimated $9.2 million every single day to incarcerate people related to drug charges. That's more than $3.3 billion annually, yet we don't have money for solutions. In 2013, the ACLU found that black Americans were 3.3 times more likely to be arrested and convicted for marijuana-related offenses than white people. At this time of the report, the ACLU of Michigan racial justice staff attorney is quoted saying that the war on marijuana has amounted to nothing more than a war on the people of color. Breonna Taylor lost her life to this war on drugs, although she was not even associated. She may have lived in Louisville, but she was from Grand Rapids. She was from Michigan. She is family. She was one of our own. She is one of our own. There may not be much that we can do regarding the injustice that is still surrounding her case right now from Flint, Michigan. However, there are things that we can do right here, right now, in our own state to assist this from happening to so many people across our country. If you guys know me, I'm not for just doing things for show. This ain't for show. Protests aren't for show. We are out here dying. We need real tangible policy change. Time after time, we get so complacent in our anger, yet we don't do anything about it. So, moving on to 2018. In 2018, legalized cannabis was made recreational. In 2008, a decade before, we had medical marijuana. It passed overwhelmingly by voters. Today, Michigan has generated more than $450 million in legal cannabis revenue, another $73 million in tax revenue to the state. But while cannabis business is booming, thousands still lie in state prisons and continue to suffer the collateral consequences of a marijuana-related offense. Wow, so many are getting paid to do exactly the same thing. Many of these individuals are first-time, non-violent offenders. Others are serving de facto life sentences for the same activity that they could be legally monetized now. The Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act passed overwhelmingly in 2018. So if a woman were to deliver 3 pounds of marijuana to an undercover officer today, she will serve no more than 90 days in jail. But the fact that there are still people serving 30, 40, 50 life sentences is injustice at its core.